The Secret of the Jade Finger. Chapter 1. The second uncle, who hadn't seen him for more than 10 years, had a pale face and fresh blood oozing from his forehead. He suddenly appeared in the yard of my house, as if stepping out of a crack in time, holding a yellowed letter in his hand. Seeing this, my father's eyes were instantly empty, and he cried bitterly, "Second uncle. You are dead." I froze in place, my heart felt like I was being pressed down by a boulder, and my breathing almost stopped. My second uncle passed away as early as when I was a child, and I heard that he went to Tailong County to pursue a forgotten antiquity, jade fingers. What does his notes and this letter mean now? I opened the envelope with trembling hands, which was densely packed with strange symbols and maps, and a warning: you must eventually embark on the road to Jade, otherwise you will. At night, I dreamed that I was holding a jade finger that shone with a glow in my hand, surrounded by smoke and whispers. When I woke up from the dream, cold sweat was drenched on my forehead, and I knew that what my second uncle left me was not only a journey, but an incredible secret. Chapter 2. Early the next morning, I boarded the train to Tailong County. The mountains outside the window were undulating, and the mist engulfed the village like a giant beast. At the end of the train, there was a passenger with a strange expression, wearing a silver-grey cloak and eyes as deep as stars. He called himself Xin Luo and said in a low voice, "What you are looking for is not only the jade fingers, but also your own true life experience." As the train passed through an arched stone bridge, I suddenly felt dizzy, and countless strange scenes flashed in front of my eyes, the ruins of the ancient city, the burning sky, and the floating statues, each scene resembling the scene described in the second uncle's notes. I looked back and saw that the carriage was empty, only the fog outside the window was like an invisible hand, which seemed to be pulling me towards an unknown abyss. Chapter 3. The moment I arrived in Tailong County, the air was cold and rotten. The houses on both sides of the street breathed as if they were alive, shadows flashing behind the windows, some chanting softly, others empty and unconscious. I came to the dilapidated house where my second uncle once lived. The furnishings were already covered with dust, and there was a notebook on the table with the cover engraved "The Secret of the Jade Finger." The notes record the second uncle's exploration many years ago. There is an ancient altar hidden deep underground in Tailong County, and the jade fingers placed on the altar can summon the cracks of time and space. The second uncle wrote, "Where the finger points is not necessarily treasure, but the test of life." I flipped through the last page and found a pattern that resembled my palm, and my fingertips perfectly matched the shape of my jade fingers. Chapter 4. That night, I heard a faint knock in the dilapidated house, like someone tapping on the glass with their fingertips outside the window. I walked to the window, and a woman in ancient costume appeared in the fog, her eyes as black as an abyss, holding a shimmering jade piece in her hand. The woman spoke, her voice cold, "You are finally here. You are the one among the 5 emperors and non-emperors, the real heavenly emperor's bloodline." I was stunned and at a loss. The 5 emperors were not emperors? Bloodline? These words are like symbols in the second uncle's notes, strange and familiar. The woman waved her hand, the mist spread, the whole room seemed to be submerged by water, and a low chant sounded in her ears, the ancient Tianji code, which was sealed in the jade finger thousands of years ago. Chapter 5. The next day, I followed the woman into the deep mountains of Tailong County. On the way, she called herself Lan Su, and her voice was as cold as a clear spring. The mountain road is winding, and every step is like stepping into an unknown ancient world. The trees twisted, and the branches and leaves shone with eerie light, like countless pairs of eyes peeking at us. Lan Su told me that the jade finger was once sealed by the ancient clan to control the order of life and death, and only those with the blood of the 5 emperors and non-emperors could unlock it. In the depths of the valley, I saw an altar carved with strange beasts, and the jade fingers in the middle of the altar glowed green. I reached out and touched, and suddenly I was swept into the void by strong energy. The scene before me was ever-changing. I saw myself on an ancient battlefield where gods and mortals intertwined, war drums shook the sky, an unknown divine power flowed in my blood. Chapter 6. In the void, I met an old-looking man who called himself Xianjing, who claimed to have been the mentor of the second uncle and had also guarded the secret of the Jade Finger. He said in a heavy tone, "If you master the Jade Finger, you can see through the past and the future, but at the cost, your existence will be questioned by the world." I saw my image constantly fissioning, as if it existed in several time and space at the same time, and the ghostly figure around me whispered, "Where did the real Heavenly Emperor come from? Who is the master?" I noticed in horror that the jade fingers on my hand began to heat up, and the light became more and more dazzling. Chapter 7. I returned from the void to reality, and the altar in front of me seemed to come to life. The glow emitted by the jade fingers was like a pulsating heartbeat, reflecting Lan Su's face. A rare tenderness flashed in her eyes. "You have touched the center of your destiny, and you can't look back." We walked along the hidden passage behind the altar, and the murals on both sides of the passage depicted scenes of ancient sacrifices, and strange symbols changed in light and shadow, as if they were alive, chanting in a low voice. I felt my heart race, as if the symbols could read my thoughts, and every breath was watched. At the end of the passage, a heavy stone door was carved with 5 relief animal faces. Lan Su stretched out her hand, her jade fingers touched the stone door, and the door slowly opened. Inside were countless suspended crystal balls, reflecting pictures of different times and spaces in the balls. I was shocked. These pictures seemed to tell the hidden truth of the world. The bloodline of the ancient heavenly emperor has never disappeared, but is only hidden among mortals. Chapter 8. An image of me appeared in the crystal ball, wandering around the house as a child, holding a small carved jade finger in my hand, while a huge shadow appeared outside the window, whispering my name. I suddenly understood that this was not just my second uncle's note, but a living altar that predicted the trajectory of my life. Lan Su explained, "These are fragments of the past, and you have to piece them together to find the true power of the Jade Finger." She led me across the suspended bridge. Every step was like stepping into a rift in time and space. Under the bridge was a rolling sea of clouds, and countless ghosts faintly flashed in the clouds. My heart trembled, unsure if I could withstand the secrets that were about to be revealed. At the end of the bridge, there is a circular altar made of black crystal. In the center of the altar, the Jade Finger stood alone, emitting a dark green light, and the air was filled with strong energy fluctuations. The moment I reached out and touched it, the whole world seemed to be shattered and reorganized, time and space intertwined. I saw the figure of the second uncle. He smiled and waved, but he couldn't speak, as if he was conveying some kind of message. Chapter 9. When I returned to the streets of Tailong County, I found that the streetscape had completely changed. The streets stretch into endless mazes, and the houses reflect images of different times and spaces. I met an old man in a cyan robe, who called himself Mirror Walker. His voice was low but echoing. "You have stepped into the labyrinth of fate, and every step determines the truth of existence." The Mirror Walker led me through the labyrinth, and on the way I encountered all kinds of bizarre sights, giant fireflies flying, crystal dragons floating in the air, and distorted figures that seemed to test the strength of my will. I found myself beginning to feel the faint vibrations of my jade fingers, each breath synchronized with the energy of the altar. The most shocking thing was that the Mirror Walker pointed to a corner deep in the labyrinth, and in the darkness there was a figure very similar to me, standing in front of a broken mirror with indifferent eyes. The mirror reflects not my appearance, but myself in another time and space, as if reminding me that the real enemy may be the other side of myself. Chapter 10. At night, the low bells rang in the maze, as if every vibration was beating my heart. I lay on the crystal bed at the edge of the altar, and the dream pulled me into the void again. This time, I saw the arrival of the ancient heavenly emperor. His eyes were as deep as a galaxy, his fingers pointed to the jade fingers, and his voice was shocking. "The 5 emperors are not emperors, the real power is in your bloodline, only by facing the past can you control the future." When I woke up from the dream, Lan Su told me that in addition to traveling through time and space, jade fingers can also reveal the secrets of the ancient race, including the conflict between the 5 emperors and the true heavenly emperor. She took me to an ancient library, where floating pages appeared among the shelves, each containing history, prophecies, and forbidden spells from different eras. I touched one of the books, and in an instant, the words turned into light and shadow, surrounding me, and my consciousness was drawn into a torrent of history that spanned thousands of years. Chapter 11. I was wrapped in light and shadow, and my consciousness seemed to float in an endless galaxy. The symbols on the pages of the book turned into shooting stars, flying through the sky of ancient cities, and every light reflected people from different eras, holding jade fingers in their hands, either worshipping, fearing, or fighting. Lan Su's voice came from afar, low and cold. What you see is a fragment of the history of the 5 emperors and non-emperors. Every time you choose, it is a fork in time and space. I was shocked and realized that the jade finger is not just an artifact, but a key to controlling history. When the light and shadow cleared, I returned to the altar, and an unfathomable gap cracked in the ground, and a whisper came from the crack, "Who are you? Do you have the right to exist?" I held my jade finger in my hand, feeling like it was breathing, as if waiting for my decision. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 12. A man in black came out of the crack. His face was hidden by shadows. He called himself Netherworld, and his voice seemed to come from the depths of the earth. Do you think that if you master the jade finger, you can dominate everything? No, you only touch the surface of power. Nether pointed deep into the crack. A floating city appeared, carved with complex runes, like a huge astronomical clock, each symbol flickering with a shimmering light. I felt my heart beat violently, knowing that this was the city of the Heavenly Emperor mentioned in the second uncle's notes. Lan Su pulled me into the shadow of the altar, and she whispered, "That is a place of trials, and mortals who step into it will surely die. But you are not mortal, your bloodline has awakened." I clenched my jade fingers, feeling the power surging in my palms, and my heart surged with unprecedented courage and fear. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 13. The next day, Lang Su and I stepped into the city of the Heavenly Emperor. The air in the city is thick, the light refracts strange colors, and every step is like stepping into an unknown law. The floating streets are filled with books, statues, and strangely shaped creatures that seem to guard ancient secrets. We walked past an altar, and the stone statue in the center of the altar suddenly opened its eyes and let out a low chant. The stone statue's hands stretched out, surrounding me and Lang Su, and we were led into a labyrinth of light. In the maze, different visions appeared around every corner, the cry of the father, the smile of the second uncle, and the gods I had never seen before. Lan Su pulled me through the maze, her voice echoing in my ears, "The labyrinth tests your will, and every choice determines your existence. If you get lost, the secret of the 5 emperors and non-emperors will be hidden forever." I clenched my jade fingers and secretly made up my mind, no matter how dangerous it is, I will uncover this mystery. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 14. We walked out of the maze and came to a suspended bridge, under which was a bottomless abyss, in which countless twinkling eyes seemed to be watching my soul. Lan Su pointed to the light at the other end of the bridge. "That is the sanctuary of the 5 emperors and non-emperors, and you must cross the abyss to face the secret of the true Heavenly Emperor." I stepped on the bridge deck. Every step was like stepping into a crack in time. The bridge deck suddenly turned transparent, and the scene below emerged as a scene of the past, present and future, the second uncle and the ancient tribe at war, my father's tears, and the self I had never met. Every step challenged my will, and I clenched my jade fingers, feeling the power begin to flow in my blood. Just as the bridge was about to be interrupted, my fingers touched the bridge deck, and the jade fingers glowed dazzlingly, forming a protective shield that held me and Lan Su up. The eyes in the abyss roared like an unwilling roar, but we crossed this fear to reach the door of the sanctuary. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 15. The entrance of the sanctuary was engraved with ancient symbols, and I felt that these symbols were like calling my bloodline, and the jade fingers resonated with it, and the light formed a light gate. Lan Su whispered, "Before you go in, you must understand that you will not only face the Heavenly Emperor, but also the other side of yourself." When the light door opened, I saw a space with countless floating mirrors reflecting different versions of myself, some heroic, some cowardly, some evil, and some good. I understand that the real test is not in the outside world, but in my heart. I walked into the mirror space, and the jade fingers trembled violently in my hand, as if absorbing my will. The self in the mirror suddenly spoke, low and indifferent, "Do you want to control power? Accept the truth of your bloodline first." I took a deep breath, knowing that this moment determined my destiny and whether the 1,000-year-old secret of the ancient clan would reappear in the world. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 16. I confronted myself in the mirror and felt the power in my blood begin to awaken. The mirror self truly reflects my deepest fears and ambitions, and every confrontation is like tearing my soul apart. Lan Su was guarding by her side, her eyes shining with anticipation and anxiety. The self in the mirror suddenly stretched out his hand and pointed to the jade finger. This is not yours, you can't control it. I knew that this was the final test, not only to acknowledge my bloodline, but also to accept all my flaws and fears. I closed my eyes, fused my mind with my jade fingers, and felt the pulse and echo of time and space. When I opened my eyes again, I smiled in the mirror and dissipated into countless spots of light. I felt the power completely integrated into me, the jade finger became a part of the bloodline, and the secrets of the ancient clan hidden in the sanctuary also revealed the truth to me. The true heavenly emperor of the 5 emperors and non-emperors never left, just waiting for the qualified to awaken the bloodline. Chapter 17. A mysterious man appeared in the center of the sanctuary, wearing a golden robe, and his eyes were as bright as the sun and moon, calling himself the true heavenly emperor. He said in a heavy tone, "The 5 emperors and non-emperors are just appearances, and what really controls the order is the awakening power in your bloodline." I was amazed by this revelation while feeling an unprecedented fluctuation of energy in my bloodline. The true heavenly emperor stretched out his hand to the jade finger, the light merged with me. I saw the wars and seals thousands of years ago, and the secret mission left by the second uncle, to protect the bloodline from being eroded by evil. Lan Su whispered, "Your mission has just begun. The real challenge is to face those who want to take away the jade finger and the darkness within yourself." I clenched my jade fingers and felt an unprecedented determination welling up in my heart, ready for the incredible journey ahead. Chapter 18. I left the sanctuary and returned to the floating city, where the creatures and sights on the streets seemed to be extremely active due to the awakening of the power of the bloodline. Flying fireflies line up symbols, and the chirping of crystal dragons turns into a melody, as if celebrating the rebirth of bloodline. However, black clouds rolled in the distance, and a familiar shadow appeared. Nether appeared again, his eyes like ice. "Do you think this is safe?" The real opponent is still watching secretly, and the power of the jade finger is the desire of the whole world. I exchanged glances with Lan Su, knowing that I would face a more brutal challenge than the sanctuary, enemies from the mortal world and from the after-images of the gods, eager to seize the jade finger, even at the cost of disrupting the order of space-time. Chapter 19. The nether surrounds the floating city with black mist, the city begins to twist, and the streets are deformed like a maze. I felt the jade fingers resonate, guiding me through the most dangerous areas. We encountered ancient ghosts with distorted forms, chanting in low voices, trying to interfere with my will. Lan Su guided me, using the power of the bloodline to fight the ghosts. I felt the power penetrate my body from my fingers, and the scene around me began to stabilize. I gradually understood that the jade finger is not only an artifact, but also a medium of blood power, which allows me to control the order of this world or collapse. In the labyrinthine streets, I discovered the true form of Nether, another remnant of the awakened bloodline, intending to use the power of the bloodline to turn history around. I clenched my jade fingers and secretly vowed in my heart, no matter what the cost, I will protect order and truth. Chapter 20. I engage the nether for the first time, and the floating city becomes a battlefield. Light and shadow intertwined, and the power of the jade fingers turned into energy fluctuations, repelling countless ghosts and distorted illusions. The forces of the netherworld confronted me, as if heaven and earth were shaking for us, and the floating structure of the entire city shook with energy fluctuations. Lan Su guided me to use the power of the bloodline, taught me to sense the pulse of time and predict the netherworld attack. I gradually mastered the rhythm of power, and every attack and defense was like unlocking the ancient clan's heavenly secret code. Nether roared and delivered the final blow, but I used the jade finger as the core, concentrating my strength and bursting out with dazzling light, forcing him to retreat to the edge of the abyss. When the light dissipated, I felt my blood awaken and the city stabilized. Lan Su breathed softly, her eyes flashing with surprise and admiration. "I understand that this is only the first battle, the real test is not over yet, and the power of the jade finger and my bloodline will lead me to uncover deeper secrets." Chapter 21. After the nether was forced to retreat, an abnormal pillar of light appeared in the sky of the floating city, as if connecting to another world. Lan Su whispered, "That is the space crack sealed by the ancient clan, and the true power of the jade finger is hidden in it. My heart was shocked, and I understood that we had to go deep into the cracks to uncover the ultimate secret of the 5 emperors and non-emperor bloodline. We walked along the floating stone bridge. Every step was like stepping into an unknown time and space. The sea of clouds under the bridge rolled, shimmering with green light, reflecting the war scene thousands of years ago. In those scenes, the duel between the ancient clan and the heavenly emperor was thrilling, and the figure of the second uncle appeared many times. His eyes seemed to remind me of a key message. A light door appeared at the entrance of the crack, and a low chanting sound came from inside the light door, as if calling for my bloodline. Lan Su held my hand and her voice trembled. Here is the final test you must face, are you ready? I took a deep breath, clenched my jade fingers, and stepped into the light gate. Chapter 22. Inside the light door was a strange space. The space flowed like a liquid, and time and gravity were completely out of order. I felt the power in my blood being infinitely magnified, and every breath felt like traveling through thousands of years of history. The jade fingers emitted a strong light, guiding me towards a floating altar. The altar was carved with runes, and in the center floated a jade finger that exuded emerald green brilliance. I reached out and touched it, and instantly the entire space vibrated, and countless phantoms emerged, ancient warriors, gods, the underworld, and the second uncle's last gaze. He silently told me that to master power, one must admit the darkness within oneself. I closed my eyes, feeling every beating of my blood, accepting my fears and desires, and when I opened my eyes again, my jade fingers completely melted into my hands. The space is intertwined with light and shadow, as if the history and future of the ancient tribe unfold at the same time, and my consciousness is pushed to the limit, but it is unprecedentedly clear. Chapter 23. The light and shadow dispersed, and I appeared in the central square of the floating city. The city has returned to tranquility, but the air is still filled with intense energy. I felt that the jade fingers had awakened, and I could sense the pulse of time and foresee the movements of the enemy. Lan Su stood beside me, her eyes shining with surprise and awe. You completely awakened. At this time, Nether appeared again, this time bringing more remnants of the ancient clan. They followed like shadows, wanting to reclaim the jade finger. I felt the power in my blood surging like a torrent, mastering the power of space warp and time microseconds. The battle broke out instantly, light and shadow intertwined, and the buildings of the city seemed to be torn apart and reassembled. I clenched my jade fingers and used the power of the bloodline to control the phantoms, repelling the afterimages of the netherworld one by one. Each attack was accompanied by spatial fluctuations, allowing me to better understand my bloodline and the true power of the jade fingers. I realized that this was only the first large-scale test, and that bigger challenges lay ahead. Chapter 24. After the victory, Lan Su and I walked to the edge of the city. In the distance, a huge black castle emerged, surrounded by swirling flames and black mist. Lan Su whispered, "That is the real base of the netherworld, and it is also the source of the power of the 5 emperors and non-emperor Gu clan. You must go in, otherwise the secret of the jade finger will never be revealed." I felt the fluctuations of power in my bloodline, as if calling me forward. The castle gate opened like a living creature, and a low roar came from it. I clenched my jade fingers and stepped into the castle. The air instantly became cold, and the black mist entwined every inch of space as if consciously. Inside the castle, the corridors twist and turn, and every step seems to challenge my balance and will. Countless ghosts appeared on the walls, their eyes empty, whispering the secret words of the ancient clan. Lan Su followed closely behind me, her voice like a whisper, "Every ghost is a fragment of history that you must understand." Chapter 25. At the deepest part of the castle was an altar room, with a black crystal ball suspended in the center of the altar, which shone with dark light, reflecting countless ancient gods and the figures of the underworld. I felt the power resonate violently in my bloodline, and the light of the jade fingers began to reflect, forming countless beams that hit the crystal ball. Nether appeared with a cold face. "Do you think you can overcome everything by mastering the jade finger? Strength is a test, not an end." He waved his hand, and the black mist burst, forcing me and Lan Su towards the wall. I concentrated and fused my jade fingers with my bloodline, and the light blasted out like flames, repelling the black mist and shattering a corner of the crystal ball. The crystal ball ruptured, reflecting the historical truth of the ancient race. The 5 emperors were not emperors, they were just guardians, and the real emperors had long been hidden, waiting for those with bloodline awakening to appear. I understand that the real showdown is not just about fighting, but about understanding history and the ability to grasp order. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 26. After Netherworld retreated, the castle began to collapse, the black mist rolled, and the flames raged. I clenched my jade fingers and walked through the twisted corridor with Langsu. Every step was like stepping into an unknown law, the space was constantly changing, and a huge light door appeared at the end of the corridor, on which the symbol of the ancient heavenly emperor was embossed. Langsu whispered, "That is the final secret room, and you will face the darkness of the underworld and the bloodline he represents." I took a deep breath, knowing in my heart that this was the final battle and the key moment to uncover the secret of the Jade Finger. The light door slowly opened, and the inner space was as boundless as the universe, with Nether and his bloodline remnants suspended in the center. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 27. Netherming stepped forward, his bloodline power fluctuated strongly, distorting the space into countless shattered mirror images. I clenched my jade fingers, and the power of the bloodline burst out, and the light penetrated the darkness, fusing the mirror fragments one by one. The battle instantly rose to the extreme, and every collision was like tearing the heavens and the earth apart. Langsu stood beside me and whispered guidance, "Merge your strength with your blood and will, and don't let fear control you." I felt my will completely synchronized with the jade fingers, the power gushed out like a tide, the Netherworld's attack was repelled, and he looked at me in surprise. Finally, I concentrated the light to create a blockade of time and space, sealing the Nether and its afterimage. The black fog is dispersed, the castle begins to turn to dust, and the floating city returns to tranquility. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 28. After the battle, I felt that the power of the bloodline was fully awakened, and the jade fingers merged into myself to become an extended will. I walked out of the castle, and ancient ruins and mysterious pillars of light appeared in the distant sky, as if paying tribute to me. Langsu smiled and said, "You succeeded, but this is only the first step. Jade fingers and your bloodline will reveal deeper world secrets." We returned to the floating city, and the city residents woke up like a dream, their eyes shining with awe and wonder. I felt the pulse of time fluctuating, the boundaries of the past, present, and future were blurred, and the power of the bloodline could change the state of existence of things, and I could also see through the ancient code. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 29. Back at the altar, I flipped through the last notes left by my second uncle and found a hidden symbol that revealed that the power of the Jade Finger was not only a protection, but also a trial. The real challenge is to face the deepest level of the ancient seal, the ultimate order of the 5 emperors and non-emperors. I understand that the road ahead is still full of dangers, and although the blood power is strong, if not controlled properly, it will cause the collapse of time and space. Langsu stood next to me with firm eyes, "You will become the true heavenly emperor, and I will guard you every step of the way." I clenched my jade fingers, determined to explore all the unsolved mysteries. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 30. As night fell, the floating city was illuminated by ghostly light, and ancient symbols flickered in the air. The jade fingers trembled slightly in my hand, guiding me in an unknown direction. I feel that my blood is in sync with the pulse of the world, and every step determines the direction of the future order. Langsu whispered, "The real journey has just begun, you will face the last guardian of the ancient race, and you may also meet other beings of the awakened bloodline." I took a deep breath and stepped into the night, secretly vowing in my heart, no matter how many trials, I will uncover all the secrets of the 5 emperors and the true heavenly emperor, protect the jade fingers, and also protect the order of this world. Chapter 31. In the night, I climbed along the towers of the floating city, and every step was like stepping into an unknown law. A transparent crystal ball was suspended at the top of the tower, and the ball shimmered with the afterimage of the ancient symbol in the netherworld. The jade fingers vibrated slightly in my hand, and the power of the blood veins gushed out like a tide, guiding me forward. Langsu followed closely behind, and she whispered, "That is the observation tower of the ancient clan, guarding the final trial. You have to face your past, present and future self." I felt the connection between my blood and time, as if I could sense the pulse of history with every breath. The wind on the top of the tower was as piercing as a knife, and the crystal ball suddenly broke, and thousands of points of light flew into the air, forming a huge labyrinth of light. I took a deep breath, clenched my jade fingers, and stepped into the maze, feeling the blood and the power of the jade fingers flow through time, guiding me through every challenge. Chapter 32. In the labyrinth, I encountered countless images of the past, my father's tears, my second uncle's smile, and the arrival of the ancient emperor. Each image carries strong emotions and tries to influence my will. Lan Su was guarding by her side, her eyes flashing with anxiety and trust. I confronted the image, the power of the blood gushed out like a tide, and the jade fingers glowed dazzlingly, solidifying the image. Every attack and defense was like deciphering the ancient clan code, and I felt that I was gradually grasping the true meaning of the bloodline power. Deep in the labyrinth, I met a familiar figure, the reflection of the netherworld, who whispered, "Do you think awakening is enough? True power needs to bear all costs." I clenched my jade fingers, my will as firm as steel, ready to face the ultimate trial. Chapter 33. At the end of the maze, a floating altar appears, with black and emerald green jade fingers suspended in the center, as if absorbing the energy of space and time. I reached out and touched my jade finger, and was instantly surrounded by light, and the scene of the duel between the ancient heavenly emperor and the 5 emperors and non-emperors appeared in front of me thousands of years ago. Lan Su's voice sounded in his ears, "This is a test of blood, you must face the truth of history." I saw the figure of the second uncle standing in the center of the ancient battlefield, his eyes full of warning, telling me how to use the bloodline and jade fingers to control the order. The light dissipated, and I felt that the blood veins and jade fingers were completely fused, and the power filled my body like a torrent. I understand that the next step is to face the netherworld in its final form, which will determine the final order of the 5 emperors and the true heavenly emperor. Chapter 34. The sky of the floating city rolled again, black clouds and pillars of light intertwined, Nether appeared, his power was stronger than ever, and the black mist swept through every corner of the city. The jade fingers vibrated strongly, the blood power rushed in my body, and I could feel the intention of each attack of Netherworld. Lan Su stood beside her, her eyes firm, and she whispered guidance, "Fuse your will and blood, and master the pulse of time and space." I felt that my bloodline was synchronized with the rhythm of time, and every movement could predict the Netherworld's attack, and the light hit the black mist like flames. In the city, buildings are distorted by energy fluctuations, and the floating streets are deformed like a maze, but I am fearless, clenching my jade fingers, and the power of my blood turns into a light shield, protecting myself and Lang Su, ready for the final battle. Chapter 35. The battle broke out, and Nether and I intertwined in the air, and every attack and defense caused space fluctuations, like tearing through time and space. The light of the jade finger fused with the blood vein power, forming a huge energy fluctuation, repelling the black mist of the Netherworld. Lan Su used blood resonance, guiding me to concentrate my power at one point and attack the core of the Netherworld. Nether roared, and the black mist turned into countless after-images, trying to distract my will, but I clenched my jade fingers, and the light burst out like flames. Eventually, I sealed the Netherworld and its after-images in a rift in time, and the city was restored to stability. The power of the bloodline was fully awakened, and the jade fingers merged into myself, as if they had become part of the extended will. Chapter 36. After the victory, the floating city returned to tranquility, and the sky shimmered with emerald green pillars of light. Lan Su whispered, "You succeeded, but the real test is to master order, not strength." I felt the power of my blood surging like a tide, and I could sense the pulse of time and space. I returned to the altar, flipped through the last notes left by my second uncle, and found that there was the ultimate secret of the 5 emperors and non-emperors. The real heavenly emperor had long been hidden, only waiting for the bloodline awakened to unveil the order. This means that my journey is far from over. In the night, I saw the pillars of light flickering in the ancient ruins, as if calling me to explore the unknown world. I clenched my jade fingers and secretly vowed in my heart, no matter how many trials there are, I will protect the order and reveal all the secrets of the 5 emperors, the non-emperor and the true heavenly emperor. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 37. The next day, Lansu and I patrolled along the edge of the floating city and found that the traces of the black fog were still distorting the space. The jade fingers trembled slightly, and the blood power sensed a new threat. The remnants of the ancient clan had not yet completely dissipated, they were lurking in the dark, waiting for the opportunity to reappear. Lansu whispered, these afterimages may be the last link of the trial, or the prelude to a greater threat. I understand that power awakening is only the first step, and the real task is to control the order and eliminate the influence of the ancient race in the netherworld. We walked along the aerial bridge, and a huge light door appeared in the distance, revealing the glimmer of the unknown world through the light door. I felt the guidance of the bloodline power, this may be the next secret, and it is also the core of the order of the 5 emperors and non-emperors. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 38. The light door opened, and I stepped into a completely different world, countless islands of light floating in the sky, between which were swirling energy vortexes, each like a node in time, reflecting the past, present, and future. The jade fingers vibrated in my hand, guiding me towards the center island. Lansu followed closely behind, her bloodline power resonating with me, helping me navigate through the vortex. Each crossing brings intense energy fluctuations, as if the soul has been tempered. I felt the secret aura of the ancient clan getting closer and closer, and I also felt the traces of the true heavenly emperor. On the central island, I saw an ancient altar engraved with symbols of the 5 emperors and non-emperors, and the light of the jade fingers burst out like a tide. I understand that the ultimate answer to order and power will be revealed here. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 39. In the altar, a huge light and shadow appeared, calling himself the heart of the ancient clan, and his low voice shook the entire space. The 5 emperors and the emperor are just appearances, and those who truly control the order will determine the future with their blood and will. I clenched my jade fingers, and the power of my blood surged like a torrent. Light and shadow manipulate time, pulling me and Lansu into different fragments of time and space, each recreating the history and future possibilities of the ancient race. I had to fuse the information of each fragment within a limited time to grasp the truth of the order. Lansu whispered encouragement, by completely fusing the power of the bloodline with the jade fingers, you can see through time and space and master the secrets of the ancient race. I concentrate my will and inject power into my jade fingers, the light breaking through the fragments, integrating all history and the future. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 40. Once the integration is completed, my consciousness seems to transcend time and space, perceiving the intertwining of the past, present, and future. The jade fingers turned into bloodline extensions, light and shadow surrounded the whole body, and I saw traces of the true heavenly emperor. He was hidden in the depths of history, waiting for the bloodline awakener to reveal the order. The heart of the ancient clans whispered, you have mastered order, but the real test is how to use power, not just fight. I understand that this is not just about victory, but about being a guardian. Lansu and I stood at the top of the island of light, overlooking the countless swirling vortexes, and an unprecedented determination surged in our hearts, to uncover all the secrets of the 5 emperors, the non-emperor and the true heavenly emperor, to protect the jade finger and the order of the world. Chapter 41. The central altar of the Isle of Light radiated dazzling light, and the heart of the ancient tribe emerged in the air, echoing throughout the space in a low tone, you have mastered order, but the balance of the world still needs to be guarded. I felt the power of the blood vein completely fused with the jade fingers, and I could sense the pulse of time and space with every breath. Lansu stood beside her, her eyes shining with nervousness and anticipation. The secret of the true heavenly emperor is hidden in the deepest cracks in time and space. A bottomless black pillar of light appeared in the center of the altar, as if connecting another dimension. I understand that this is the final entrance, leading to the core of the 5 emperors and the true heavenly emperor. The jade fingers trembled violently in my hand, as if reminding me that once you step in, you will not be able to look back. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 42. I stepped into the black pillar of light, and instantly felt my whole body being sucked into the boundless void, and the pulsation of time and space poured into my consciousness like a tide. A decisive battle between the ancient clan and the heavenly emperor appeared in front of him, and every confrontation shocked the heavens and the earth. Lan Su's voice sounded in his consciousness, "This is the deepest part of the ancient clan seal, and it is also a test for the true awakening of your bloodline power. I feel that the jade fingers and the power of the bloodline are completely one. I can sense every beat of time and see the future brought about by every choice." In the depths, a light and shadow gradually condensed, which was the embodiment of the true heavenly emperor. His eyes were as deep as a galaxy, and his voice was shocking. "The 5 emperors are not emperors, but only the appearance of guarding order. You are the true bearer of order. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 43. Facing the true heavenly emperor, I felt unprecedented pressure in my heart. The jade fingers glowed in my hand, the blood power rushed, and I felt that every cell of myself was connected to the order. Lan Su whispered guidance, "By fully integrating will and blood, you can carry order and reshape history." In the light and shadow, the shadows of the ancient clan overlapped with the images of the 5 emperors and non-emperors, forming a chaotic scene, and every fluctuation challenged my will. I closed my eyes and injected all my fears, doubts, and desires into my jade fingers, feeling myself at the heart of order, with time and space flowing in my hands. Finally, I opened my eyes, and the power of the bloodline burst out like flames, the light penetrated the chaos, and the incarnation of the true heavenly emperor smiled and whispered, "You have awakened, and order will exist with you." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 44. I returned to the floating city, and the structure of the city was restored to perfection like a new life. The light of the jade fingers was stable and soft, and the blood power was still flowing, and it could sense the order in every corner. Lan Su stood beside me, her eyes flashing with admiration. "You have completed the awakening of your bloodline and mastered the power of order." The city dwellers feel the change, their eyes filled with awe and hope. In the distance, the remnants of the ancient clan dissipated, and the black mist of the netherworld could no longer invade the order. My bloodline resonated steadily with the jade fingers, mastering the secrets of the 5 emperors and not the emperor, and also seeing the hidden trajectory of the true heavenly emperor. In the night sky, the floating city and the island of light complement each other, as if the world is being guarded. I understand that protecting order is not just a strength, but a responsibility, and this is a mission shared by my blood and jade fingers. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 45. A few days later, Lan Su and I patrolled along the floating city and felt a new pillar of light faintly emerging in the distant sky. The jade fingers vibrated slightly, and the power of the bloodline guided us. The ancient clan still has unsolved secrets, and the true order still needs to be guarded. Lan Su whispered, "This is the final test of the 5 emperors and non-emperors, and it is also the beginning of your mission as the bearer of order." I felt the power of the bloodline in perfect sync with the rhythm of the world, and every step could foresee the pulse of the future. We embark on a path guided by the pillars of light, leading to the unknown, where every breath feels like pulsating through time, where the past intertwines with the future, and the jade fingers emit a warm and steady glow that becomes the core of guiding order. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 46. At the top of the pillar of light, I saw an ancient altar engraved with symbols of the 5 emperors and non-emperors. The jade fingers glowed in my hand, the blood power burst out, and I felt the power of the ancient race and the will of the true heavenly emperor resonate in the space. Lan Su pointed to the center of the altar. "This hides the ultimate secret of the 5 emperors and the non-emperors, as well as the order of history and the future." I walked towards the altar, the jade finger light spreading like a tide, each symbol resonating with the bloodline power. Light and shadow appear in the center of the altar, and the historical fragments of the ancient clan and the 5 emperors and non-emperors overlap, forming a complete picture of order. I feel that the blood power is in full control of all this, can change the trajectory of history, and can also protect the future order. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 47. The light of the altar dissipated, and the sky of the floating city was as clear as a new life. I understand the secret of the 5 emperors and non-emperors. They are symbols of the guardian order, and the real heavenly emperors are waiting for those with bloodline awakening to control the world. I clenched my jade fingers, and the bloodline power fully awakened and became the bearer of order. Lan Su smiled, her eyes flashing with soft light. You have completed your mission and taken on responsibilities. The world will be stable because of your presence. I felt the resonance of my blood and jade fingers, and my heart surged with great determination, to protect order, maintain balance, and uncover more unsolved secrets of the world. In the night sky, the island of light and the floating city complement each other, and the ruins of the ancient tribe emit a shimmering light, as if paying tribute to me. The jade fingers were stable and warm in my hand, and the blood power flowed like a tide, and I understood that the true guardian mission had just begun. Chapter 48. A few months later, Lan Su and I toured the world, and the power of the bloodline allowed me to sense the order in various places. Although the remnants of the ancient clan have dissipated, there are still unknown threats lurking in the distance, and I clench my jade fingers, ready to face the challenge at any time. The floating city is revitalized, and the residents' eyes are full of hope, feeling the presence of the guardian of order. The jade finger resonates steadily with the power of the bloodline, the historical trajectory is readjusted, and the world seems to be resculpted, balanced and beautiful. Lan Su whispered, "This is the beginning of your bloodline awakening, there are more trials in the future, and there are more secrets waiting to be revealed." I nodded, my heart full of determination, to protect the world and explore the limits of order and power. Chapter 49. One night, abnormal light and shadow flashed in the sky of the floating city, and I felt the jade fingers resonate violently, and the power of the bloodline warned of a new threat. Lan Su and I stepped on the pillar of light to the center of vision, and in front of us appeared the light and shadow of the ancient tribe and the new gods, their wills intertwined with the world order. I felt the power of my blood guiding me, and my jade fingers were like a lighthouse, illuminating the way ahead. I know that this is the ultimate test of my role as the bearer of order, and it is also the key to uncovering the deepest secrets of the 5 emperors and the true heavenly emperor. Lan Su held my hand tightly and whispered, "No matter how strong you are, your will and bloodline strength will protect the order." I clenched my jade fingers and stepped into the light and shadow, ready to face the ultimate challenge. Chapter 50. In the light and shadow, I faced the remnants of the ancient race and the new gods, who were trying to challenge the will of the bloodline awakened people, and the balance of order was at stake. The light of the jade fingers burst out, my bloodline power was fully awakened, time and space flowed in my hands, and I could sense the intersection of history and the future with every breath. I infused my will into my jade fingers, and the light turned into a web of order, incorporating the remnants of the ancient clan and the new gods. They whispered, and finally turned into points of light and dispersed into the world, and the order was completely stable. Lan Su smiled beside her, her eyes shining with soft light. "You did it, you became the true emperor of heaven, the one who guarded the order." The floating city is calm again, and the island of light and the ruins of the ancient tribe complement each other. The jade finger resonates with the power of the bloodline, history and the future are integrated, and the world order is stable and beautiful. I stood at the top of the tower, overlooking the endless sky, secretly vowing in my heart, no matter how many challenges there are in the future, I will protect the order, uncover more world secrets, and become the true emperor of heaven.